Hey guys, this is Mr. Grice for Algebra Unit 7.2 Notes. Today we're talking about multiplying polynomials. Our learning target today is to be able to multiply polynomials. Now, before we begin with the new stuff of multiplying, let's go over the rules of adding and subtracting, which is what we talked about yesterday. Okay? So just focusing on the left side, remember that we need to distribute in order to get rid of the parentheses. And then we combine like terms by adding the coefficients of terms with the same variable and exponent. Okay? So we talked about that we need to look at the sign in between. And if it's a positive, we multiply by a positive one. If it's negative, then we would distribute a negative one. But when we multiply or distribute a positive one, it stays the same. Okay, nothing changes. All the signs stay the same. Okay, so anytime you do that, we just keep the number because 1 times anything is the number. Okay, so now that we've distributed everything, now we need to combine our like terms. Okay, so first thing we're looking for, exponents with this are variables with the same exponent. So x cubed and negative x cubed, those cancel out. Okay, 6x squared and 7x squared. Remember, we add the coefficients. So 7 plus 6 is 13. Oh, hold on real quick, guys. Okay, sorry about that, guys. So 6x squared and 7x squared would be 13x squared. And then the last thing we would combine is the -1 and the -7, and that gives us a -8. Okay, and now there's nothing else to combine. So that's our final answer, 13x squared minus 8. Now, in example number 2, once again, we want to look to see what operation we have. That's negative, so I know that I'm going to be distributing a -1 to all of those terms. My first term, I'm distributing, or my first set of parentheses, we're distributing a +1. We distribute a +1, everything stays the same. Now, when we distribute the negative, our terms stay the same, but the signs don't. So this was a -8. A negative times a negative is a positive. A negative times a positive is a negative, and a negative times a negative is a positive. So the signs inside those parentheses change, and then after we're done with that, we don't worry about that sign anymore. Okay, that kind of goes away. So let's look for our like terms. Same variable, same exponent. 6 minus 3 is 3, and then the m squared stay. 2m plus 8m, or -2 plus 8, sorry. -2 plus 8 is positive 6m. And then the last thing we've got is the 11 plus 2, and that is 13. Okay, so 3m squared plus 6m plus 13, that's all we can do, okay? No more like terms. All right, now let's talk about multiplying. Multiply each term from the first polynomial with each term of the second polynomial. And remember that we add the exponents of the same bases. All right. And after we're done, we need to combine like terms if possible. So for number example 3, my first term, this right here, that's a monomial. I'm going to multiply a monomial with a trinomial. Okay? So when we do this multiplication, just like before, I'm going to make sure that I multiply that negative 4x by everything. Okay? So off to the side, I'm going to write down everything I'm multiplying. So that's negative 4x to the first times x cubed. I'm going to multiply negative 4x to the first times 6x squared. And then I'm going to multiply negative 4x to the first times negative 1. Okay? So negative 4 times, well, 1 is negative 4. And then x1, x to the first times x cubed gives me x to the fourth. Remember, when we multiply, that's when we can combine the exponents. Okay? Negative 4 times 6 gives me negative 24. And then x to the first times x squared gives me x cubed. And the last one, negative 4 times negative 1 gives me positive 4x. So those are my new terms, and the way that I would write this now is negative 4x to the fourth minus 24x cubed plus 4x. That's in standard form, and there are no like terms. So that's our final answer right there. Okay? Now, for example 4, this is when we have to make sure we multiply every single piece by each other. Okay? Because we're multiplying a binomial with a binomial. So we have to keep track of all of our information. All right? So the first thing that we're going to multiply is m times 2m. Okay? And that gives us, remember, if we need to add the exponents, we get 2m squared. So our first part is 2m squared. Now I need to multiply m times negative 1. Well, that gives me negative 1m. Okay, now I need to start multiplying the 4 by everything. So we're going to distribute the 4. 4 times 2m gives us 8m, and that's a positive 8m. And then 4 times negative 1, that gives us negative 4. Okay? Now, we're not done because we need to combine our like terms. Okay? So when we combine our like terms, we still have 2m squared. Negative 1 plus 8 is positive 7m minus 4. Okay, does that kind of make sense? We're going to be going through a lot of examples like that. All right, so there are two different ways that we can do this. We can do one that's called the box method and another that's called distribution. Okay, you can do either one that you like, but make sure on this first page that you try both methods. All right, so the first one we're going to distribute, and that's exactly what we just did. Okay, so the first step, we're going to multiply the 3x times x squared. And remember that that x to the 1 is x to the 1. So we have 3x cubed. This is going to be all my work on this left-hand side. Okay. Now the next thing we're going to multiply 3x times negative 4, which gives us negative 12x, because 3 times negative 4 is negative 12. All right. Next, we're doing the 2 times the x squared, which gives us 2x squared. Oh, guys, I'm sorry, I forgot to write the negative 12x. And then that's a positive 2x squared. And then the last thing we're multiplying is that 2 times -4. And that gives us -8. Okay? Now, do we have any like terms? Nope. Is that in standard form? No, because looking at the exponents goes 3, 1, 2, can't do that. So let's rewrite it in standard form. 3x cubed comes first, then positive 2x squared, negative 12x, and then -8. Okay, just be careful with your signs that you don't lose them. All right, box method. I'm going to give you a hint. The box method involves us drawing a box. Okay? Now, we have a binomial times a binomial. Okay? So when I set that up, there's my box. I have a binomial which has 2 parts, and a binomial that has 2 parts. So see how I kind of cut it up each time? And now I'm going to do it all together. Okay? Now, it doesn't matter where you put it, so let's just kind of color code everything first. See where everything's going? My top binomial, negative 2x minus 5. I just got it from that top. My second binomial is the negative 4x plus 8. Okay? Another way to look at it would just be this. My top binomial, there it is. Side binomial, there it is. Okay, we can't break up those pieces. Okay, and now that we've got that, we just multiply inside. Negative 4 times 2 gives us negative 8x squared. I'm going to multiply negative 4x and negative 5, which gives me positive 20x. So I pretty much we go multiply, multiply, and that's how we get that. Okay? For our next one, 8 times 2. Okay? So 8 times 2x gives me a positive 16x. And then the last one, the 8 times negative 5 gives us negative 40. Okay? From here, I'm going to rewrite everything. And now we can combine like terms. All right? So we have negative 8x squared plus 36x minus 40. Okay. Number 3. So we're doing the distribution, and that is because in between here, we're multiplying. Okay. So 7 times 2 is 14, and then x cubed and x cubed, x to the 6th. I'm showing a little bit less work now. 7 times negative 9 is negative 63, x cubed. Okay, now we're going to distribute the negative 3. Negative 3 times 2x cubed gives me negative 6x cubed. And then once again, negative 3 times negative 9 gives us positive 27. Okay? Now let's combine our like terms. The 14x to the 6th comes out front. Negative 63 minus 6 gives us negative 69x cubed. and then the positive 27 just comes down. And there are no more like terms, so that's our final answer. All right, number 4. Number 4, once again, we're going to do the box method. I have a binomial times a binomial. So each portion I'm going to cut into 2 pieces. My 3x squared plus 1, and then my negative 4x minus 7. The nice thing about this, guys, is you can multiply in any box that you want to. It really doesn't matter, okay? So I just always go multiply the tops, then I multiply the bottoms. So negative 4 times 3 is negative 12. Remember, that's x to the first times x squared gives me x cubed. Negative 4 times 1 gives us negative 4x. Negative 7 times 3x squared gives me negative 21x squared. And then negative 7 times 1 gives me negative 7. Okay? Okay, now looking here, looking at the boxes, do we have any like terms? Hopefully you're saying no. Okay, so I'm just going to write these down in standard form now. We got the negative 12x cubed. Next we have negative 21x squared, kind of marking off the ones that we did. Then the negative 4x minus 7. There we go. Now, if you like one way over the other right now, you can do that. All right, I'm going to pause the video now. We're going to stop it right now because we got a lot of problems to do on the back. So this will be video 1, and video 2 will be coming up shortly.